I wanted to spend a couple of minutes just talking to you about what is actually going on when the C# script editor and the scripting engine actually reference your DLLs, because it may well have an effect on what you want to do, how you want to develop your class libraries, and also have an effect on deployment. If you remember at the beginning of the class or the course, we identified three types of reference. We had the common reference, those ones in blue, and these were the references which the scripting engine needs just to simply function. There's nothing you can do about it, and if you highlight them and try and delete them with the delete cross here, they won't delete it. There's nothing you can do about it. With a global reference, though, you can reference a class library, and if you check the global checkbox up here, it will flag it as global. And what happens is it makes a copy of the DLL and puts it inside Syspro DB ADM script references table. Then what happens when the script engine is compiling or running, it will pick up that library from that copy. Now, from an application or a script-specific reference, what actually happens is a DLL is stored inside the TXT file. So whichever way you use global or specific references, the C# scripting engine is using a copy of the DLL, not the DLL resident on the file system. So let's have a look at what that actually means. If you have an app with a specific, that is a non-global reference, you can copy it to a target machine, and the DLL class library doesn't need to be employed on that target machine. That's because the DLL has been imported into the TXT file, and the C# scripting engine is quite happy for it to be there. In fact, it's expecting it to be there. However, if an app with a global reference is copied to a target machine, it will not work, run, or compile. In fact, what will happen is it'll run, but in that you may well find that the app comes up with forms and things, but the logic won't work. That is because it's looking for the DLL in Syspro DB ADM script references and can't find it. So what we have to do is work out ways of handling this sort of thing. So let's have a look at what that actually means. The C# scripts are using an embedded copy of the DLL, whether it's in the table or it's in the TXT file itself. So replacing the DLL file on the file system on a development machine will have no effect on the C# script at all. So for any changes to take effect in the app on a global reference, an app needs editing, the reference needs deleting, and it will remove it from the ADM script reference table, and then needs re-adding by browsing for the new version, and the copy of the new version will be inserted into the table, and hey presto, any app that actually references it will burst into life. On an application or a script specific reference, the app needs editing, the reference needs deleting, and then re-adding by browsing for the new version. And then what will happen is when it's added, it will be copied back into the TXT file and it will burst back into life. So this actually means that the DLL doesn't need to be deployed to all clients unless there are other reasons to do so. That is, maybe there's other software that you're using that needs the DLL, but from a Syspro app or C# scripting reason, there's no reason to have it deployed on all clients. I'll just reiterate things we said earlier on. If you did, for whatever reason, want to deploy it onto all the clients, then pop it into something like base managed assemblies. But this actually raises a problem. If I'm working on a copy, say my log file that we had in our sample, and I added the extra method, which was read the whole file content. If I just simply try to add that method into my existing app, it would say, oh, I can't compile this. I know nothing about it because it's using an old copy of the DLL. So clearly I can fix it by doing what I've just described to you here, by adding or deleting and re-adding it. but is there a way I can make the app a bit more intelligent so that it warns me that there's a version mismatch before it actually causes a crisis? So I came up with the following idea. Maybe you could implement a method in the class that returns a version number, in which case you could compare it with another version number. You could use the Syspro data store to store a variable that contains the latest version that you're expecting on that machine. In this case, I've made a variable called my Syspro utils here, and I've set it to version 2.0. You could add code in the app, or you could have a method in the class to compare the two versions and return an error if they're different. So as an example, you may well have something like in our person class, person.check version method. I pass it the data store version, in this case 2.0, and it will do whatever it needs to check to its current version and either return true or false or some error message. So what I'm giving an idea of how you could create a handshake between the app and the DLL so that it proactively warns you, hang on a minute, I'm expecting a different version here. It does actually depend on you basically making sure that the data store variable is the version that you actually want to check against. I hope that actually makes a little bit of sense. You might have to replay this bit a little bit more, but the thing that caught me out when I first started using this is that they're actually using copies of the DLL, and that is on the one hand a great thing in that you can copy the TXT file around, but on the other hand it can be a bit of a gotcha. So with that in mind, let's start wrapping the course up. But before I do a final summary wrap up, I wanted to discuss one other technique which may be of interest to you. And that is the ability to load an assembly at runtime rather than actually reference it in compilation and copy it into the relevant files we've been talking about. This is achieved in C# and .NET by something called .NET Reflection, which allows us to actually read a DLL. It's a little bit more complex than that, though. It's actually defined, as you can see here, as a way in which a .NET program can inspect and interact with its own internal definitions. And as you can see here in plain English, basically it allows your code to look at itself and work out what classes and assemblies and properties and attributes it's actually got. So what I've actually done is I have created a separate sample for you with this in, which we'll have a look at in a short while. And that's on the source code download. Let's have a quick look at some of the considerations though. In this case, whereas in the previous discussion when we were talking about references and copying it into Syspro, in this instance, the DLL will have to be installed on all the clients so that you can actually place it in base managed assemblies, and then Syspro will self-heal it around the rest of the system. The technique that we're talking about loading an assembly at runtime is called late binding. And this has a knock-on effect because when obviously the app compiles, it has no reference to the assembly, so it can't check whether the syntax, the methods exist, or indeed the signature of the methods is correct. This only happens when you actually run the code. So what you find is that debugging and testing can become difficult and a bit more onerous or more frustrating more than anything else. If you get a bit of a spelling mistake, the first thing you know about it is actually when you're running the code rather than at compilation time. And we will see in a short while that the syntax of the code can be somewhat verbose. But let's bat on and have a look. There are some pros and cons. The main advantage, obviously, is that the DLL, if you change the DLL, you just put it into managed assemblies once, and this technique will simply read it the second time, and it gets self-healed around Syspro. So there's no issue about having to re-reference it and recompile your apps that use it. But on the downside, what we talked about, compilation and syntax checking already, is recognized that there is a slight performance difference between loading it at runtime and compiling it. And of course, the way that Syspro App Designer works, and if you remember, we discussed this way back in one of the first courses, the app fires up, the UI is presented to you, and then every time an event occurs, it fires up the C# or VB script and runs the code, and then shuts the code down and comes back to the UI. So the DLL loading has to happen on the on-user event. Now, this might present some sort of performance issues. I've not seen any personally, but just a bit of a warning there. You need to just check about versioning issues. Obviously, if you change the DLL, then your code's going to change. Well, that's fairly obvious and comes along anyway. But your dynamic loader, or the code that actually you use to load the assembly or DLL, needs to cope with this. There are security considerations. Obviously, if you're loading DLLs that you know nothing about, just make sure that they're actually trusted and things like that. And we'll see in the code that when we're actually checking the DLL itself, then we have to check that the DLL loads correctly, that the assembly exists, and that the methods that we want to call exist. But this is all sensible coding. So with that in mind, let's just go and have a look at some of the code. Okay, back in App Designer, I've made a copy of the original demo that we started. This is called CLSTS2, and it's in the source code. It does exactly the same as before. I just put a little bit of an explanation notepad down here for explanation for anybody running it. So let's go and have a quick look at the code. Okay, here we are. Now, the first thing we need to notice is that there are a couple of new using statements here. System.reflection, obviously, that we've spoken briefly about that. That's the class that will allow us to load the assembly and interrogate what it is. And then I'm using system.io because I need to pick up path names and directories to find the DLL. So we'll just go to the bottom at the moment and have a look at what I've called a dynamic loader. So this is a brand new class within our app. So notice that that's the end of our app class there. That's the end of the namespace. So we're in between the end of the class and the namespace. We've defined a brand new class within our program. I called it dynamic assembly loader, and it's got a method called load assembly. It's going to take a string which will be the full URL for where the DLL is, and it will return to us an object which is the assembly itself. Put a little bit of notes in here. Interestingly, for those of you who are interested, I guess, when C# code is running, its home directory or base directory is managed assemblies Syspro SA scripting host. So what I'm doing here is I'm asking, please give me your base directory. I knock off the trailing backslash because I want to use get parent to get this part of the path, which is the Syspro managed assemblies, and I pop the DLL name in here, which I'll be getting here. And first things first is that we check, does the DLL actually exist where we think it is? And if it doesn't, we're just simply throwing a file not found exception. And what will happen if that occurs is that Syspro will catch that and put up a null error message saying, basically, I can't find the file. So that's our first level of checking. And if it does find it, then it returns, it loads the assembly and returns it back to where we called it. So let's go and have a quick look up here, what's happening. here's our on-user event. So as soon as an on-user event fires, we have defined a variable of type assembly. We called it ASM. And we are running our load assembly method. There's my Syspro utils. It will run through the code we just discussed, and if it finds it, it will return the object and put it into this variable ASM. So the next thing is we now know that we've got the assembly loaded. We now need to look for the person class that we were using earlier on. So basically what it's saying is, I'm not sure what type I'm expecting, but it'll be a generic type. I'm going to give it this name. And I'm going to ask ASM, this is from here, to go and get the type called mySysproUtils.person. And if you find it, pop it in here. If they don't find it, then it will have returned null. So I'm saying if it's null, and if it is, then we basically say, I can't find it, and return. And that will comes out of our on-user event to take us back. So that second check is, does the actual class that we want to be using exist in that assembly? If it does, we're moving on, and it basically says, well, if you exist, I want you to create an instance of that class and pop it into person. And that's the equivalent of us saying, if you remember in our old code, I think it was something, I'm just going to type it in here so we can see it. We went something like person p equals new person. So that was when we were actually referencing the assembly. We could put that in there. We can't do that at this stage. We have to use this. I'll create the instance and put it in here. And then once we've got that, we then say, I'm going to want to check whether the method exists, the say hello method. If it does, then it'll continue. If it doesn't, it says I can't find it. So again, as another level of checking, we've checked, does the DLL exist? Does the class exist? Now, does the method exist? And now that we've got it, we can get properties from the form. We can fire up our say hello method. We're invoking the method. And when we run this code, it works exactly the same as before. So just bear with me. Okay, here we go. And we're just going to say there. And in that instance, it's loaded the assembly, done all that work, and popped up our example. So I thought that would be quite useful. Sometimes people will want to deploy your DLLs in managed assemblies, and that's a way of doing it. So finally, we move on to our wrap up.